What's up, guys? We're back with a full slate of MLB action here on Monday, May 27th. We finally had a tough day, guys, and I can't say that I'm surprised it was a Sunday. We ended up going 1-5 on the day overall. The under in the Atlanta Braves-Pittsburgh Pirates game was looking very, very good there until the very, very end. That one barely missed. We had a starting pitching change in the Seattle-Washington game, which I still thought had a decent chance of that pick coming through, but I guess in hindsight, I should have went ahead and taken it out of the pinned comment because that didn't work out at all. It ended up getting very high scoring, but also at the very end of the game. So that was annoying. Royals couldn't come through for us. The Phillies looked terrible. Cleveland minus 116, that one did come through for us, so we'll take that one for sure. Just a little bit of healing there on a very tough day and close things out with a loss there from the Yankees. So tough day, guys, but we're going to go ahead and try and get back on track here with a full Monday slate. First, do me a big favor and hit that like button. It's a great way to show some support for the channel and all the work we put in here every single day. If you're new, go ahead and subscribe. It's 100% free and can keep you from missing out on these picks. Our videos are sponsored by StumpTheSpread.com. Click the link in the description to go over there and join our free email list and check out our top confidence plays on all the major sports. Comment below with all the bets you're looking at today, and we will give you our best advice on all of them. We respond to absolutely every single comment, so let us know anything you want to say about my picks, these videos, or anything you see here. As always, our final picks will be in the pinned comment down below. Now let's get into our first game of the day. We've got the Boston Red Sox taking on the Baltimore Orioles. Boston comes into this game fresh off of a Game 3 win there against the Milwaukee Brewers. They won 2-1 in the last game of that series. The first two did not look great, guys. We saw Boston lose 7-2 and 6-3 before winning 2-1 there in Game 3 to like salvage a win. Not their best series overall. They're trying to turn the page here, handing the ball to Cooper Criswell, who's 2-1 on the season with a 2.86 ERA. So very, very solid stuff from him. His last time out, he looked good against the Rays. He went 5 1/3 innings, gave up 6 hits, only 2 earned runs, and struck out 6. His start before that was a little bit shaky. It was also against the Rays, but his start before that against the Nationals was great. Start before that against the Twins was great, and he was dominant back on the 30th of last month against the Giants. So in general, this season, he has looked very, very good. We've also seen the Red Sox go 4-1 over his last 5 starts, so that's not terrible either. The Red Sox offense in general, though, has not been looking great lately. Obviously, I mean, they scored 2, 3, and 2 runs over their last 3 games. Like, that's not amazing. This has been around a league average type of offense this season, guys. I mean, maybe slightly above league average. They are 9th in the majors in slugging percentage, but only 13th in runs scored, 14th in team batting average. We don't see anybody really for them that we're particularly terrified of there up at the plate, so that's not something that we really are taking into, like, this is not a huge offensive threat of a team. Will they score some runs? Sure. Are they likely to put up big scoring numbers? I don't really think so. And they're going up against an Orioles team that can score some runs, guys. The Orioles just finished off a 4-game sweep of the White Sox, winning 4-1 there in Game 4. So they're looking great. They got back on track after that weird series against the Cardinals. And at 33-18, things are definitely working out. They're handing the ball in this game to Cole Irvin, who's 4-2 on the season with a 3.15 ERA. And the last 2 times we've seen Cole Irvin are technically bullpen appearances. There was that weird deal against the Cardinals where he came in and pitched and got knocked around, so obviously way out of his routine for that one. Then before that, he came out of the bullpen and went 2 innings, gave up 1 hit and no runs against the Seattle Mariners. But in his actual starts, guys, starts back on the 10th, 3rd, and 27th, respectively, he looked great. He went a total of 13, 18, 19 innings in that one, gave up 11 hits over 19 innings, only 2 earned runs over 19 innings. Like, that will definitely work. This dude has been lights out when he's gotten to be an actual starter and really go through his routine and do his thing. So we're expecting good things from him in this game, and we're also expecting good things from the Orioles offense that continues to be very, very good. I mean, they scored 4, 5, 6, and 8 runs against the White Sox, albeit against the White Sox, guys, but they've got some decent starters. It's really their offense that makes them such a terrible team. So in general, we're pretty high on the Orioles bats right now. They're 7th in the majors in runs scored, 2nd in the majors in slugging percentage. They are getting on base on only a 303 clip, which obviously isn't amazing, but they're 13th in the majors in batting average, and man, this team can really crush the ball. I mean, we see Gunnar Henderson sitting on 17 home runs. He's still batting .264. Like, this is a very, very good offensive team. And looking at the numbers for this game, guys, we see the Orioles at minus 146. We see the Red Sox at plus 140. We've got an over-under in this game of 9. We see Baltimore is a pretty solid over team, but Boston's a big under team. So we're not super interested in that over-under, guys. I tend to look more at Baltimore to just win this game. They are 17-10 at home, so that's pretty nice. Boston is only 16-11 on the road, and they are not looking good right now. So it's kind of a clash of 2 teams headed in different directions right now. But guys, I'm definitely trending towards towards the Orioles minus 146 in this one. Will it end up as a pinned comment play? We're just going to have to wait and see. Next on the docket, guys, we're looking at the Kansas City Royals going on the road to take on the Minnesota Twins. The Royals come into this game fresh off of a 4-1 loss there in Game 3 of their series against the Tampa Bay Rays. The Royals definitely let us down in that one, but at 34-20 on the season, they're probably not feeling too terrible, and they've been playing great lately. They're handing the ball in this one to Alec Marsh, who's 4-1 on the season with a 2.72 ERA, and comes into this game fresh off of a good start against the Detroit Tigers, where he went 6 innings, gave up 3 earned runs. Not a great start, guys. We'll give him credit for a decent start at least, and we have seen the Royals go 4-1 over his last 5 starts, which doesn't feel bad, and he's looked very, very good. I mean, he had a good start against the Orioles, he had a good start against the Angels and the Blue Jays. Like, he's looked very, very dominant against some decent, maybe not elite, but decent hitting teams. And yeah, coming into this game, the Royals definitely can't feel bad handing him the ball, and they probably feel pretty good about their offense right now, despite the fact they only scored 1 run in their last game. Other than that, guys, this team has been trending up in a big way offensively. I mean, we see Salvador Perez leading the way, but just overall, this whole team's been hitting the ball well, guys. I mean, they're 4th in the majors in runs scored, 7th in the majors in batting average, batting .253 as a team. Like, that's very, very nice, guys. They're top 10 in slugging percentage as well, and they're just in there in the top 10 in on-base percentage, getting on base at a .315 clip, which isn't necessarily insane, but it's not nothing, guys. This team is definitely finding a way here on offense, and they're going to hope they can keep things rolling here against the Twins, who cooled down a little bit. They won 2 out of 3 against the Rangers. They lost Game 3 of that series 6-2, so not ideal, but in general, they probably don't feel awful about being 28-24 this season. They've had long winning streaks. They've had long losing streaks. This is kind of a streaky team, and they're handing the ball in this one to Joe Ryan, who's 3-3 on the year with a 3.15 ERA, and coming off of a great start against the Nationals, guys. He went 7 innings, gave 3 hits, no runs. He struck out 6 and walked 2, and yeah, it was kind of a bounce back from a questionable start against the Yankees. It was the Yankees, so we'll cut the guy a little bit of slack, but not a ton. I mean, the Yankees have had their bad moments this season for sure at the plate, so just in general, he's looked good, but maybe not dominant lately, and he hasn't been facing the toughest teams, obviously with the exception there of that Yankees start, so it's going to be interesting to see what he can do here in this one going up against the Royals. The Twins' offense has looked much better recently. I mean, they've definitely had their struggles at times, and they did only score 2 runs in the last game, but this is looking like a slightly, maybe below average offensive team. I mean, they're 21st in the majors in batting average, 21st in the majors in on-base percentage. They are 14th in the majors in runs scored and 11th in slugging percentage, but we don't see anybody on this roster that we're like terrified of at the plate. I mean, this isn't a team that we expect to put up a ton of runs. In their series against the Rangers, they scored 2, 5, and 3 runs overall, and that's the series they were very successful in, so not exactly terrified of that. Guys, looking at the numbers for this game, it's a little bit weird to me. We actually see the Royals at plus 145 in this game. The Twins are minus 158, and we've got an over-under of 8 in this game. I guess the odds makers are just giving a ton of respect here to Joe Ryan, but I don't think Alec Marsh is any slouch at all. So, guys, we're going to go ahead and take the Royals in that big plus number. I mean, taking big underdogs can be a little bit scary, but I think Kansas City's in a very reasonable spot to win this game. They're 13-12 on the road this season, which isn't bad, and Minnesota is only 13-12 at home, so nothing really to be gleaned from that. You could also take a slight look at the under possibly in this game, but guys, I'm going to be on the Kansas City Royals plus 145. I think this is a pretty good spot for them, and I hope this underdog can come through for us. Next on the docket, guys, we've got the Toronto Blue Jays going on the road to take on the Chicago White Sox. The Blue Jays did not have a very good time in their series against the Tigers. They lost 3 out of 4. They lost 14-11 in that like crazy high-scoring offensive outburst kind of game. 14-11, losing, scoring 11 runs and losing cannot feel great. The Blue Jays haven't scored 11 runs many times this season. Maybe they haven't done it at all, actually. I'm not sure. They have not been a great offensive team. They're handing the ball in this one to Chris Bassett, who's 4-6 on the season with a 4.39 ERA and coming off a very good start against the White Sox, so that's pretty interesting. He's going to be going up against this team again. He went 7 innings, gave up 5 hits and no runs, struck out 4 and walked 2. Like a pretty good outing, a great outing by his standards this season for sure. I mean, he's been looking a lot better since getting shelled by the Dodgers last month. This entire month has been very good for him. I mean, his worst start was against the Royals in a game where he went 6 innings, gave up 3 earned runs. Like, if that's the worst you're going to do, that's not too bad at all. The problem for the Blue Jays has been their offense. That's the reason they're 23-29 on the season. Vladimir Guerrero Jr. is now hitting over 300 on the year, which is great. We see their offensive numbers obviously trending up after that big offensive outburst where they scored 11 runs. In a game they still lost, though. They're 28th in the majors in runs scored, guys. No way to get around that. I do think that's a number that will improve at some point this season, but man, right now it's feeling like a struggle. They're only getting on base at a 309 clip. Their slugging percentage as a team is 369. Like, that's pretty weak. only a batting average as a team, guys, of 232. Like, not a good hitting team at all. And they're taking on a Chicago White Sox team, which is also obviously not a good hitting team at all. They're 15 and 39 on the season, coming off a 5th straight loss. They just got swept in that 4-game series to the Baltimore Orioles. They're hitting the ball in this game to Nick Nastrini. He is 0 and 3 on the season with an 11.91 ERA. So, yeah, not exactly great. We see he got shelled by the Blue Jays his last time against them, guys. He went 3 1/3 innings, gave up 9 runs. 8 of them were earned on 7 hits. He walked 6? He watched 6 hitters in that game. Like, obviously the dude's not going to be that bad, but it's not just the Blue Jays he struggled against, guys. He struggled against the Phillies. He struggled against the Kansas City Royals, at least some amount. Like, this guy just not looking good, and we obviously have no faith here in the Chicago White Sox bats, guys. This has been clearly the worst offense in the majors basically all season long. Like, there's no reason to be expecting this team to have a good time out there. I certainly don't, and I don't know why any of you would expect them to do well at the plate. Dead last in all the major statistical categories, so definitely looking at them as one of the worst offenses in the majors. And looking at this game, guys, we see the Blue Jays at -190, the White Sox at +168. We got an over/under of 8.5. We see Toronto is only 11 and 17 on the road, which obviously not ideal. The White Sox are only 10 and 18 at home, though, so we're not too worried about that. And we've obviously got great pitching trends in this game, pointing towards the Blue Jays getting a comfortable win. And I know this is going to sound wild, guys, but I'm actually leaning towards the Blue Jays -1.5 in this game. If you take a -1.5, you can get them at +115, and that seems pretty appealing to me. I think they're going to get an easy win here against a White Sox team that seems like they're in an absolute nosedive right now. Next on the docket, guys, we've got the Chicago Cubs going on the road to take on the Milwaukee Brewers here in an NL Central showdown. We see the Cubs coming into this game fresh off of losing 2 against the Cardinals. They kind of got swept in that series, but one of the games got postponed. So regardless, losing 4-3 in that one and letting Goldschmidt's hit 2 home runs can't feel great. They're 27 and 26 in the season, handing the ball to Justin Steele, who's 0-2 on the year with a 5.68 ERA coming off of, and it looks like 3 terrible starts, guys. He got shelled by the Pirates twice and then got knocked around by the Atlanta Braves. This guy is straight up not having a good time right now. And man, do we see that changing in this one? I kind of don't. I mean, his stuff hasn't looked that great. He's not like a huge power pitcher kind of guy. So not a lot of optimism right here for Justin Shields. I mean, and not a ton of optimism here for the Cubs offense. I mean, they did score 3 and 6 runs in those 2 games respectively, but this is not really an offense that I feel like is trending in a positive direction. They're 16th in the majors in runs scored. They're down to 25th in the majors, guys, with a 228 batting average. Like, that's not going to get the job done. 21st in slugging percentage, like, not a good offensive team at all right now, and they are taking on a very good offensive team in the Milwaukee Brewers, who just won 2 out of 3 against the Boston Red Sox to get their record on the season to 30 and 22. They're handing the ball in this game to Robert Gasser. Great name, by the way. He's 2-0 with a 2.65 ERA. He's in a bounce back spot, though, guys. He did not have a very good time there in his 3rd start of the season. He got shelled by the Miami Marlins. He gave up 10 hits, 4 earned runs over 6 innings of work, so obviously not great. His starts before that, though, were very, very good. He had a good start against the Pirates and a very good start against the St. Louis Cardinals. So the dude's looked good at different points. Maybe he was kind of having an off day against Miami. I mean, that is his only start of the season that was on the road. So maybe he's going to be one of those guys that's way better at home. But yeah, looking at the Milwaukee Brewers bats, they looked decent, not necessarily super elite, but definitely decent against the Boston Red Sox. And this has been a top 10 offense all season long, guys. I mean, they're 6th in the majors in runs scored. We see William Contreras hitting the cover off the ball. They're 4th in the majors in team batting average, hitting 256 as a team. Like, this is a very, very good offensive team. And look at the numbers for this game, guys. I have a lot of questions about what the odds makers are thinking in this one. They've got the Cubs at +105 with Justin Steele on the mound. That doesn't make any sense to me. We've got the Brewers at -112. Maybe they just don't have a lot of faith here in Gasser, but we're going to go ahead and gas this guy up, dudes. Like, we see Chicago is only 12 and 15 on the road. Not great. Milwaukee is 12 and 9 at home. That's pretty solid. Give me the Milwaukee Brewers -112 in this game. This one is going right down there in the pinned comment 100%. Next on the docket, guys, we've got the Cleveland Guardians going on the road to take on the Colorado Rockies. Cleveland comes into this game fresh off of a sweep there against the LA Angels. Cleveland was our saving grace there on Sunday, kept us from being in a sweep the opposite direction. They're 36 and 17 on the season, absolutely killing it right now. They're handing the ball in this game to Xavier Curry, who's still looking for his first result of the season. He's made 2 starts so far, and both of them have been very reasonable, guys. He shut out the Boston Red Sox over 5 innings of work, giving up only 2 hits back on the 15th. Then he had a long time off. I would assume he had ended up on the IL at some point, because that's the only reason I can think of for him having not pitched that long. But his last start was back on the 21st, so a normal amount of time. He went 4 1/3 innings. He did get 7 hits to the Mets, so obviously not great, but only 2 earned runs over that span, and he struck out 2. So I think we can expect this guy guy to be rounding into form at least a little bit, and the Cleveland Guardians bats have been looking very, very good. They scored 5, 4, and 10 runs against the Angels there, and then they swept the Mets the series before that, scoring 6, 7, and 3 runs. So this team definitely hitting the ball better. They're up to 5th in the majors in runs scored, 13th in on-base percentage, getting on base at a 312 clip, so not terrible, but not amazing, and their team batting average is 237, so once again, around league average, but this team just finds a way to score runs right now, it feels like, and they're going to try and keep on scoring runs here, taking on the Colorado Rockies, who just managed to win 2 out of 3 against the Phillies. The Phillies historically do apparently struggle a lot there playing in Coors Field, and yeah, that definitely came through in all but game 2 of that series, so the Rockies are only 18 and 34 on the year, though, can't feel great about that. They're hitting the ball in this one to Austin Gomber, who's 1-2 on the season with a 2.76 ERA, and coming off of a very good start against the Oakland A's, where he went 8 innings, gave up 5 hits and only a single earned run while striking out 6. He's looked very, very good. No way around that this season. We have seen the Rockies actually win 3 out of his last 5 starts. Yeah, none of those losses have really been his fault over that span either. Like, this guy has looked very, very good, albeit against some middle-of-the-road competition, we'll say. I mean, dominating the Padres, I guess, is worth something, but in general, we definitely like what we're seeing from Austin Gomber. Do we like what we're seeing from the Rockies offense? I guess. I mean, they scored 5, 4, and 3 runs against the Phillies, so not exactly a murderer's row type situation, but yeah, we are seeing them get a little bit banged up. We see Beck heading to the IL with a fractured hand there, so that can't feel great. They're 23rd in the majors in runs scored, 10th in the majors in batting average, so that's something. 20th in the majors in on-base percentage, and 17th in slugging percentage. So, like, this team, they can hit the ball a little bit, and looking at the numbers for this game, guys, what I'm seeing kind of makes sense to me. I mean, we see the Guardians minus 135. They're clearly the better team, but do they have the better guy out there on the mound in this game? I don't really think so. We see the Rockies at plus 122 with an over-under of 10.5. Cleveland is 18 and 11 on the road, so very, very solid on the road. Colorado is 11 and 11 at home, so not terrible at home, especially when you're a team that only has 18 wins on the season. 11 of them coming at home. That kind of makes sense to me. Yeah, guys, looking at this game, I think we're leaning towards the Colorado Rockies plus 122. I think they're in a decent spot here with Gomber out there on the mound, and I'm not super high on Curry. I mean, the dude's been in very limited action, and getting knocked around for 7 hits over 4 1/3 by the Mets doesn't exactly fill me with confidence. So we're going to be taking the Rockies at home in this one plus 122 with a somewhat decent chance to end up in the pinned comment. I think this underdog has a shot to come through for us. Next up, guys, we've got everyone's least favorite team in the majors right now, the LA Dodgers, going on the road to take on the New York Mets. The Dodgers come into this game 33 and 22 on the season, and now have lost 5 straight. They just got swept by the Cincinnati Reds. Absolutely crazy stuff going on for the Dodgers right now. No faith in this team at all, despite the fact they're handing the ball to Gavin Stone, who's 4-2 on the year with a 3.60 ERA. Coming off not a great start, guys. He got knocked around by the Arizona Diamondbacks, giving up 8 hits over 6 innings of work, 4 earned runs surrendered in that game. He gave up a home run in that game. Like, just did not look amazing out there, and kind of been a departure from how he's looked in general this season. I mean, before that start, he hadn't given up more than 1 earned run in any of his last 4 starts. So overall, this guy has been great. He's definitely in a bounce back spot, but man, the Dodgers are just floundering right now. Their bats are not coming alive. They scored 1-1, 6-0, and 3 runs over their last 5. Like, just not looking like the dominant offense that we've seen over the course of this season. I mean, they're being cautious with Ohtani's bruised hamstring. Fair enough. Don't blame him for that. It's early in the season. This isn't what the regular season isn't what the Dodgers care about, guys. The Dodgers care about winning a World Series, and obviously they're set up to do it, but they need to break out of this little mini slump here going up against the New York Mets, who just won to snap a losing streak of their own. They won 4-3 in the first home run Navarez gets this season, so great for him. They've snapped a 5-game losing streak, but they're only 22 and 30 on the season, handing the ball in this one to Taylor Megill. He's 0-2 on the year with a 3.00 ERA, and he's had 2 reasonable, I won't say elite starts, but when you're going up against the Brewers and the Cleveland Guardians this season, I mean, that can be a little bit tough. Obviously, the only stat we're really going to look at here is from the Guardians, because that start against the Milwaukee Brewers was back in March, so don't care too much about that one. His last time out back on the 20th, so 7 days ago. The dude could be a little rusty. He went 5 innings, gave up 2 earned runs, 3 runs overall on 4 hits. He struck out 7 and walked 2, so not terrible, but not somebody we have a ton of faith in right now. And yeah, the Mets bats are also not something we have a lot of faith in, guys. They did score 4 runs in the last game of this series, but recently it's just been a big struggle for them. They're down to 18th in the majors in runs scored, 18th in the majors in team batting average. Like, this is just looking like a below average offense to me at this point, and I don't necessarily see that changing anytime soon. And looking at the numbers for this game, guys, we see the Dodgers at -145, the Mets at +130. We got an over/under in this game of 8.5. We see the Dodgers are 13-11 on the road. The Mets are only 11-16 at home. Guys, I know you're not going to like this, and I don't know if I'm going to put it in the pinned comment or not, but we can't just pay attention to these trends and stuff all the time. I'm really looking at the Dodgers -145 for this game. Like, all the numbers would suggest that the Dodgers should be in a very good spot to win this game. I mean, Taylor Megill has not looked good at all. We see Gavin Stone. He's looked very good in general this season, and he's in a bounce-back spot. We see the Mets in a letdown spot after having a big emotional win yesterday, so maybe they turned a corner, but guys, I think more likely we're going to see the Dodgers get a bounce back and get back on track in this game. Next on the docket, guys, we got the St. Louis Cardinals going on the road to take on the Cincinnati Reds. The Cardinals come into this game fresh off of winning 2 in a row against the Cubs. Game 1 of that series got postponed, so they weren't able to go for that real sweep, but still, this team has won 5 in a row now. They're up to 25-26 on the season, absolutely cruising along after so many struggles in the early goings. They're handing the ball in this one to Lance Lynn, who's 2-2 on the season with a 3.68 ERA, and he had a great start his last time out. He shut down the Baltimore Orioles, going 6 innings, giving up 2 hits, only a single run, which wasn't even earned. He struck out 5 in that outing, and it was a nice bounce back after having 3 pretty questionable starts in a row. So Lance Lynn seems to be back on track, but it's not exactly like he's a starter we can just like instantly trust right now. And yeah, the Cardinals offense, though, is starting to look like something we can trust, guys. They've scored 4, 7, 5, 3, and 6 runs over their last 5. Like, this team is kind of turning things around at the plate right now. They are up to 27th in the majors in runs scored. Yeah, 27th. I know, not great, but they're 19th in majors in batting average, 14th, so slightly above average, getting on base at a 311 clip. Like, team slugging percentage still not amazing, but we're seeing Goldschmidt's come alive here a little bit. I mean, he obviously hit 2 home runs, not something the guy's not going to start hitting 2 home runs a game, but in general, nice to see his bat awaken a little bit. He's been one of the veterans that's really struggled for the Cardinals this season, and yeah, Cardinals offense getting back on track here, hoping they can keep things rolling against Cincinnati Reds and in the Great American Ballpark. That probably doesn't feel too bad. The Reds just did a crazy thing that I don't think anybody really saw coming. They won 3 in a row against the Dodgers. They won 4-1, 3-1, and 9-6. So yeah, crazy play there from the Reds. They're handing the ball in this game to Nick Lodolo, who's 3-2 on the season with a 3.34 ERA. He is coming off of a groin injury, so he's set to throw off them, make this start. So we'll see how he looks out there. I mean, he hasn't started since back on the 11th of this month, so it didn't look that great out there when he was out there. I mean, obviously, if you've got a groin issue, you're going to struggle, but still, he didn't look great in his last 2 starts, and now he's got to take on a Cardinals team that's suddenly swinging some hotter bats. So that seems like a little bit of a tough spot to me, unless he's really truly fully healthy, which, I mean, a groin injury that can crop back up and go away all the time. It's just a tough spot to be in. And another tough spot to be in is being a Reds pitcher, because you've got one of the worst offenses in the majors behind you. The Reds are 29th in the majors, batting .217 as a team, 26th in the majors, getting on base at under a 300 clip. This is just not a very good offensive team, which is kind of embarrassing given they get to play in one of the smallest, most hitter-friendly ballparks in the majors. Looking at the numbers for this game, we see the Cardinals at +115, the Reds at -124. We've got over-unders of 9.5 or 9. We do see the Cardinals are only 12-14 on the road, but Cincinnati is 13-15 at home. Guys, we're leaning towards the Cardinals and Lance Lynn in this game. I think the Cardinals find a way to snap this weird little winning streak that the Reds have going on. Don't have a ton of faith in Lodolo right here, coming off of his whole groin thing, and Lance Lynn is coming off of a good start in his experience pitching in this ballpark. So go ahead and give me the Cardinals +115 with some sort of chance to end up in the pinned comment. Next on the docket, guys, we've got the Washington Nationals going on the road to take on the Atlanta Braves. Washington comes into this game fresh off of a 9-5 loss to the Seattle Mariners. They did manage to win 2 out of 3 in that series, though, so that's pretty nice for them, but they're only 23-28 on the year, so not exactly going to alert the press. They're handing the ball in this one to Mitchell Parker, who's 3-2 on the season with a 3.32 ERA, coming off of a decent but not great start against the Minnesota Twins. He went 6 innings, gave 7 hits and 3 earned runs, and it's actually the second start in a row that he's given up 3 earned runs to maybe not the best hitting teams in the world. I mean, giving up 3 earned runs to the White Sox over 5 innings is not great, and yeah, he's had a little bit of a hard time lately. He's given up at least 2 earned runs over his last 3 starts, and he hasn't been going super deep into games either, so definitely have our questions here about Mitchell Parker and the Nationals offense. I mean, they did just score 5 runs, albeit in a loss, and they did manage to score 6 runs in game 1 of their series against Seattle, but this has not been an elite offense, guys. They're looking like a for sure at least bottom bottom of the third, if not worst, major league offense. I mean, they're 26th in the majors with 204 runs scored, 25th in the majors getting on base at right around a 300 clip. Like, this is not a great offensive team. There's nobody on the roster that I'm really super terrified of at the plate, so not looking at them as a plus offensive team for this game. And looking at their opponent in this one, the Atlanta Braves, they're up to 30-20 on the season after winning 8-1 there in Game 3. We saw Chris Sale look amazing as usual, so he's looking great. We see Acuna, though, he is going to be out for the season with a torn ACL, so that is got to be very devastating news there for the Atlanta Braves. They're handing the ball in this game to Charlie Morton, who's 3-1 on the season with a 3.35 ERA, and he's looked very, very good lately. I mean, his first start against the Cubs wasn't great, but his second start was very, very good, and other than that, during his last 5, he's looked great, even against some great opponents. Like, he looked very, very good against the Dodgers, good against the Cleveland Guardians. Like, this guy is throwing the ball pretty well right now. We have a good amount of faith in him. How much faith do we have in the Braves offense right now, though? Tough to say. Like, what is their response to this big injury going to be? We'll just kind of have to wait and see. They're down to 13th in the majors in runs scored. Over their last, look at their last 4 games. They scored 8, 1, 5, 3. Like, not elite offensive numbers to me anyway. And looking at the numbers for this game, we see the Braves at minus 198. So we got the Braves at almost 2-1 favorites. The Nationals are plus 170. We've got an over-under in this game of 8.5. Guys, I have a decent amount of faith here in Charlie Morton, but I also have some faith here in Mitchell Parker. I mean, he hasn't looked terrible, so yeah, guys, I'm not really sure which way to go on this game. I don't know what the Braves' response to the big injury is going to be, so we'll just have to wait and see. This is definitely a wait-and-see spot for me. If you're forcing me to bet this game, I do think the Nationals plus 170 might have just a tiny bit of value. I think they win this game maybe often enough, but with both starters looking decent, I also think you can go with the under 8.5, with Atlanta being 30, 18-2 to the under this season, which is an MLB best to the under number. So yeah, I think probably give me the under in this game if you're forcing me to bet it, but this is mostly going to be a stay away spot for me. Next on the docket, guys, we've got the Philadelphia Phillies going on the road to take on the San Francisco Giants. The Phillies come into this game fresh off of losing 2-3 to the Colorado Rockies. Did not have that one on my bingo card, guys. The Phillies are 38-16 on the season. Handing the ball in this game to Taijuan Walker, who's 3-0 in the year with a 5.06 ERA. Definitely been benefiting a lot from that great Phillies offense. I mean, his last time out, he went 4 2/3 innings, gave up 6 hits and 3 earned runs in a game that the Phillies won 11-4. So dude has not been throwing the ball great this season or really recently. He had one great start against the Marlins, and that's really been his only very, very big plus start this year. So not super high on Taijuan Walker. Obviously still very high on the Phillies offense, despite the fact they scored 2, 8, and 2 runs in their series against the Rockies. This is a very good offensive team. We see Bryce Harper hitting the ball great right now. They're first in the majors in runs scored, second in the majors in batting average, and third in on-base percentage. Like, this is a very, very plus level offense. It'll just be interesting to see what they do here against the Giants, who come into this game fresh off of a loss, a 4-3 loss to the Mets, but they're 27-27 on the season, so they fought back against some adversity. They're handing the ball in this game to Blake Snell, and talk about fighting back against adversity. We were treated to a terrible start to the season for Blake Snell, but maybe he's figuring things out. I mean, he went 3 1/3 innings, gave up 4 earned runs against the Pirates, and that's actually slightly better than he looked before that, guys. I mean, he spent time on the IL and all that jazz, but man, how high are we on Blake Snell right now? Me personally, not very high at all. Looking at the Giants offense, though, it's looked pretty decent. They scored 3, 7, 8, 7, and 9 runs over their last 5 games. Like, that will definitely work. They're up to 11th in the majors in runs scored, 8th in the majors in batting average, 8th in the majors in on-base percentage. They're only 15th in the majors in slugging percentage, but slugging percentage isn't everything, guys. And looking at the numbers for this game, we see the Phillies at minus 110, the Giants at minus 102, which is kind of confusing with Snell on the mound, but given his opposing matchup, I guess it's not too weird. We also see some weird over-under numbers out there, guys. We see over-under numbers of 8.5, 8, and all the way down to 7.5. And looking at those numbers, guys, the one I like the most, and albeit not a number that I'm going to be having in my pinned comment, is the over 7.5. We see the Phillies are 26, 25, and 3 to the over, so just the tiniest of trends to the over there. San Francisco is 28, 24, and 2 to the over. I don't trust either starting pitcher in this matchup, so go ahead and give me over 7.5 as a small lean in this one. And if you're determined to pick the side, I think we lean slightly towards the Phillies, but not enough for me to be on that one in a significant way. Next up, guys, we got the Miami Marlins going on the road to take on the San Diego Padres. The Marlins come into this game fresh off of winning 2 of 3 against the Arizona Diamondbacks. They are only 19-35 on the season, though, and handing the ball in this game to Trevor Rogers, who's 1-6 on the year with a 6.11 ERA. He's coming off a middle of the road. I mean, actually, no, not middle of the road. A bad start against the Milwaukee Brewers, albeit it is the Milwaukee Brewers, one of the better offenses in the majors, but he went 3 2/3 innings, gave up 4 earned runs on 6 hits. He also walked 4 in that outing, so not great. We've actually seen the Marlins only go 1-4 over his last 5 starts, and he hasn't been going deep into games. He's been getting knocked around a lot, so got a lot of questions about how he's going to look out there, and we've got some questions about the Marlins offense also, guys. I mean, they did manage to win 2 out of 3 in this series, but they never scored more than 3 runs, so that's not great. They're down to 28th in the majors in runs scored, 29th in on-base percentage, and 29th in slugging percentage. Like, not a great offensive team. Nobody at the plate for them really scares me right now, and they're going to need to find some offense here against the San Diego Padres, who just won 1 out of 3 against the Yankees. They're 28-28 on the season, so that's not an amazing number. They're handing the ball in this one to Michael King, who's 4-4 on the season with a 4.28 ERA, coming off of a decent but not amazing start against the Cincinnati Reds. He had a stretch there against the Dodgers and the Diamondbacks where he didn't give up an earned run or any runs over 13 innings spanning 2 starts, but then he got shelled by the Rockies, and then he gave up 3 earned runs over 6 2/3 against the Reds. So not a disaster, but also not necessarily amazing. And the Padres offense, man, guys, if you can figure out the Padres offense, great. Please let me know down there in the comments, because I never know what to expect from this team from night to night. They're 8th in the majors in runs scored, 5th in the majors in batting average. They're getting on base at a 322 clip, which is good for 6th in the majors. And they're coming off a game where they scored 5 runs, but in the games before that, the 2 games before that, they combined to score a grand total of 1 run. So what are you going to get from the Padres offense on a nightly basis? Who freaking knows? And looking at the numbers for this game, guys, we see the Marlins are plus 158. The Padres are minus 174. And we've got an over-under in this game of 7.5. The Padres are only 11-17 at home, which is obviously pretty terrible, but the Marlins are only 9-16 on the road, so that's also not great. Guys, if you're forcing me to bet this game, go ahead and give me the Padres minus 174. I have more faith in the squad overall, but man, do I think this is like some sort of amazing spot? I don't really think so. Despite Trevor Rogers being out there on the mound, I mean, I don't have a massive amount of faith. Probably go off and score like 7 or 8 runs, sure, but I'm not going to be benefiting from it because I just do not have the belief in this team right now. Next on the docket, guys, we're looking at the last game on the slate. We've got the Houston Astros going on the road to take on the Seattle Mariners. Houston comes into this game fresh off a 5-2 win there in Game 3 of their series against the A's. They won 2 out of 3 in that series. They're up to 24-29 on the season, so not exactly where they envisioned being, but they're trending in the right direction for sure. Handing the ball in this game to Framber Valdez, who's 3-2 on the year with a 4.32 ERA, and man, almost all of those bad numbers came here in this last start. He got absolutely obliterated by the Angels. 5 innings, 10 hits, 8 earned runs. He got 3 home runs in that start. Like, just looking absolutely terrible out there. So we don't really know what to expect from him. Obviously, he's in a bounce back spot, but going up against the Mariners, that's a team he struggled against earlier this month. Back on the 4th, he went 5 1/3, gave up 9 hits and 5 earned runs, so not super high in Framber Valdez in this spot. And if I'm going to be honest, I'm not crazy high on the Astros offense, even though they're trending in a positive direction. They're 10th in the majors in runs scored. They're first, very much in first place, guys, batting 264 as a squad, but this offense, it just doesn't feel reliable to me. I mean, they scored 5, 1, 6, 1, like, that's just not reliable to me. I don't know what we're going to get from these guys on a night-to-night basis, so we'll just have to wait and see here how they do against the Mariners, who come into this game 28-26 on the season, and they just had a losing streak breaking win there by taking down the Nationals 9-5 in Game 3 of that series. Things haven't been looking great in Seattle right now. They're 28-26 overall. Handing the ball in this game to Bryce Miller, who's 3-5 on the year with a 3.53 ERA, so not terrible, but his last couple of starts, guys, have been terrible. He got shelled by the Baltimore Orioles, then he got shelled by the New York Yankees, and now he's got to take on the Houston Astros, a team that he faced back on the 5th. He went 6 innings, gave up 4 earned runs over 6 total hits allowed. Like, just not a great outing at all. And looking at the numbers for this game, guys, we see some very interesting things. I mean, obviously we don't see a ton from the Mariners offense, generally speaking. I mean, 27th in the majors in runs scored, 27th in the majors in batting average. Like, this is just not a good offense. They've scored 9 runs in their last game, but only 1 and 0 runs over the 3 games before that. So looking at the odds makers numbers for this game, we see the Astros at minus 118, the Mariners at plus 110, and we see an over-under in this game of 7.5. This seems like a weird number, the over-under 7.5, in a matchup where both of these pitchers have struggled against this opponent very recently. So if you wanted to take a look at the over, that can make some sense to me. It feels like kind of a tough spot because Seattle and Houston are both showing trends to the under, but you could also take a look here at the Astros minus 118. I think they'll just find a way to put up some offense, and I don't really expect the Mariners to be able to keep up if this turns into some sort of slugfest. That's all the games we have for today, guys. Hit that like button for good luck on all your bets and subscribe to the channel if you're new. Let me know in the comments any questions you have on today's slate. Thanks for watching. You can click the link in the description to check out StumpThisBread.com, and we'll see you guys tomorrow for more sports betting action.